Well, hey, good morning, Armory. It's Dane here coming at you with another daily Dwell video, or Dwell reading plan. If you didn't grab one of these, you can always find the reading plan online at our website, crossroadslive.com. And there's a whole section in there that'll tell you the whole reading schedule. We're almost done. Now we're coming to the end. We end Easter, and that is fast approaching. So I'm excited about it. It's sad that we're not all going to be able to meet together as we normally do, but it's still Easter, and it's not necessarily about us meeting together. It's about Jesus and what he's accomplished for us. And so I'm still excited for Easter. It's going to be a different one than I've ever had, probably, but it's going to be good. So, but today's reading was in Matthew 26, and this is the third part of Matthew 26. It's a long chapter. We've got one more tomorrow, and it basically covers verses 36 through 56, and it's a very familiar, very famous passage. Both parts of the story are very famous. It's Jesus' prayer time in the Garden of Gethsemane, and then also the moment of betrayal when Judas betrays Jesus. And so, very famous passage. There's probably nothing that I could say that you haven't already heard about it, but the thing that stood out to me as I read through it this morning was probably something that always stands out to me as I read through it, although it was interesting that it came from an unlikely place, or not the normal place for me. And that was that 3 times Jesus prays in the garden, and each time he is basically asking the Lord, please let this pass from me. Please, if there's some other way that we can do this, let's do that. Nevertheless, not my will be done, but your will be done. So Jesus, he knows what's coming. He knows the cross is coming towards him at a rapid pace. And he's worried about it. He's troubled by it, probably afraid of it to some degree. And if not just the physical side of that, being that he is human and he's going to feel the pain, the spiritual side of it, of being the sacrifice for sin, is something that he's never experienced. And so lots we could talk about that, but I want to go back to this idea of him asking these 3 times, knowing that something terrible is about to befall him, knowing that it's coming, and he's still willing to go through with it. He's worried about it. He's troubled by it. Now that the moment's here, he knows he was born for this. But now that it's upon him, it's like, this is going to be really hard. and he's troubled. And so in his honesty, in his humanity, he's asking God, is there some other way for us to do this? And if not, I'm still willing. I'm going to go through with it. And what an amazing attitude, what an amazing heart to be faced with pretty much your greatest fear, and for the Lord be willing to walk through that and trust Him with it. This is something that had never really been done before, and so Jesus was probably like, I'm not even sure how this is going to work out, but I'm going to trust you with it. And that's the fascinating piece. But it's nothing new, that concept that he 3 times was saying, your will be done, in the midst of this difficulty. But the interesting thing came while his heart has been readied in this way, and he's wrestled through it, and he's been weeping and like really intense moment at the Garden of Gethsemane. Then he knows, okay, it's the hour that my betrayer is at hand. And he goes, and Judas comes up, he kisses him, and then they all know it's him, and they're about to seize him. Peter draws a sword, cuts off some guy's ear. I don't think we're told here in Matthew, but we're told elsewhere that Jesus heals the guy's ear. But all of that, Jesus speaks to Peter, saying, put the sword back into its place. All who take the sword will perish by the sword. And then he says, do you not think I could appeal to my Father, and he will order and send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so? And that was, that to me was just a reminder, first of all, of his power and control in this situation. That he could ask his Father to send 12 legions of angels, and just one angel would basically wipe out every human in Jerusalem overnight, right? So he could totally overpower the situation. And I think it's John's gospel where he even just speaks, and they all fall back, and I think he asks, who are you looking for, something like that, and he says, I am he, and then they all fall down and it's clear he is in complete control of the situation. He has so much power, so much authority. But the thing that he is most concerned about in this moment is when he asks that question, how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so? The thing he's still most concerned over is that God's word would be fulfilled, that God's word would come to pass, that he would make good on the promises that God has made. And that's the thing that just kind of amazes me about this little section, where Jesus' greatest concern is that God's word would be fulfilled above his own personal comfort, his own desires, and in facing the hardest thing that he could ever possibly face, he still is most concerned with God's word being true and coming to pass. And that is a challenge for all of us. What are we most concerned with in this life when we're facing difficult things? Are we most concerned with my own personal comfort, with me getting out of it, with God saving me from it, having control, authority in the situation? Or am I most concerned with, that God's will is going to be done, that his word is going to be fulfilled, and that in my life I'm going to display God's word to be accurate and true. So that's going to have implications for me for a little for the day, surely, and just what a reminder that we should be faced with constantly. What are we most concerned with in this life? Is it our own comfort, or is it God's will, God's word? And so that's what I'm going to dwell on probably the rest of the day. We might even get to talk about this tonight in our Tuesday youth group time. And I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully I'll see you in a couple of hours. And this week is probably going to be a little bit different because it is Holy Week. It's Easter week. And I'll let you know what all that stuff is tonight at our Tuesday youth group time. And then maybe reaffirm some of that stuff once I know more. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning as well in our daily dwell. So we're coming up to the end of our devotion series here as we're approaching Easter and the resurrection in chapter 28, which I'm looking forward to getting to that. And I guess my other encouragement is to steep yourself in these scriptures, to steep yourself in time spent with the Lord as we approach his greatest day and the day that we get to remember and celebrate every year. So that's all I got for you this morning, and hopefully I'll see you guys later. God bless you, keep you, and stay healthy. All right. See ya.